On June 4, 2025, President Trump announced a bold and unexpected move, doubling tariffs on imported steel and aluminum to 50%. The decision sent immediate shockwaves through the U.S. economy, disrupting industries from construction to manufacturing, and leaving businesses scrambling to adjust. One of the most surprising companies caught in this whirlwind is Coca-Cola, a brand known for its iconic aluminum cans that have been a staple in households for generations. The new tariffs have forced the beverage giant to rethink its production strategies, evaluate its supply chain vulnerabilities, and explore creative solutions to maintain its market position. The administration's goal was clear: boost domestic metal production and protect American jobs in the steel and aluminum industries. But for Coca-Cola, which depends heavily on imported aluminum for its beverage cans, the tariff increase was more of a shock than an advantage. CEO James Quincy didn't hold back in expressing concern, warning that the sudden surge in aluminum costs could disrupt operations, impact production schedules, and ultimately raise prices for consumers. Industry experts echoed his warning. The Can Manufacturers Institute highlighted that aluminum costs directly translate into higher prices for canned drinks, a change that could hit American families at a time when household budgets are already under pressure. Quincy also floated the possibility of shifting some of Coca-Cola's production toward PET plastic bottles, a move that might control costs but could alienate environmentally conscious consumers and fans who prefer the traditional aluminum cans. The company now faces the daunting task of balancing operational costs, brand identity, and customer loyalty in a rapidly shifting market. Coca-Cola's challenges also highlight a broader problem: the fragility of America's aluminum supply chain. In 2023, nearly 44% of the aluminum used in the United States came from imports, with Canada serving as the primary supplier. The tariffs effectively act as a chokehold on this supply, threatening both availability and affordability. Even if every idle U.S. aluminum smelter were restarted immediately, experts suggest that domestic production could still fall short of demand. For Coca-Cola, this reality forces tough decisions. Should the company invest more heavily in alternative packaging like plastic or glass? How can it prevent loyal consumers from switching to competitors? The answers carry implications not just for the beverage sector, but for any industry dependent on aluminum, from food packaging to automotive manufacturing. Faced with these challenges, Coca-Cola is deploying a multi-pronged strategy. CEO Quincy has made it clear that PET bottles may play a bigger role if aluminum costs continue to climb. But such a shift requires significant changes to supply chains, manufacturing processes, and logistics. Price adjustments are also on the table, though past experiences suggest that even minor increases can spark consumer backlash. The company is walking a tightrope, balancing the need to protect profit margins with the imperative of maintaining consumer trust and satisfaction. At the same time, Coca-Cola has actively lobbied in Washington, seeking relief from the tariff burden. The argument is simple: these tariffs, while intended to help domestic industries, may actually hinder American businesses, driving costs up and creating supply chain bottlenecks. The administration, however, remains resolute, emphasizing that the tariffs are essential for national security and domestic industrial growth. The strategies Coca-Cola is exploring, shifting packaging, adjusting prices, and lobbying policymakers, offer a glimpse into the broader challenges faced by corporations navigating sudden trade policy changes. The company's actions serve as a real-world case study in resilience, adaptability, and strategic foresight. Other businesses are watching closely, learning from Coca-Cola's approach, as similar pressures ripple across industries reliant on imported metals. From beverage giants to automotive manufacturers, the aluminum shortage and rising costs are forcing companies to rethink sourcing, production, and customer engagement strategies. In the end, Coca-Cola's journey through this tariff-induced turbulence is more than a story about soda cans. It is a window into how global trade policies, supply chain fragility, and strategic decision-making intersect in a complex economic ecosystem. The decisions the company makes now about packaging, pricing, and supply chain adaptation will resonate far beyond the beverage aisle, influencing competitors, consumers, and policymakers alike. As Coca-Cola navigates this uncertain landscape, it demonstrates that even the most established brands must remain agile, creative, and resilient to survive in an ever-changing global economy. The recent 50% tariffs on imported steel and aluminum are creating waves far beyond just one company. They're shaking up entire industries that rely on these metals. In the beverage world, small craft breweries are feeling the squeeze the hardest. Unlike giants like Coca-Cola, these smaller companies operate on tight budgets and can't negotiate massive bulk discounts. As aluminum prices rise, they face a tough choice: absorb the extra costs and shrink their already narrow profit margins, or pass them along to customers, which risks losing loyal beer drinkers. The ripple effect is real, and for many, it's a matter of survival. But it's not just breweries feeling the impact. Large food producers like Campbell's are also preparing for higher costs. Aluminum isn't the only concern. Other imported materials, packaging supplies, and even shipping components are becoming more expensive. The Can Manufacturers Institute has already warned that consumers will soon notice these increases at the grocery store. From soup cans to packaged snacks, everyday items are quietly starting to carry the burden of trade policy decisions. Even if the United States ramped up aluminum production to maximum capacity, restarting idle smelters and pushing output to the limit, the Aluminum Association warns that supply would still fall short of demand. This underlines an important point. Protectionist policies don't always work as intended. Tariffs designed to help domestic industries can have unintended consequences, creating bottlenecks and higher costs for the very companies they were meant to support. In a world where supply chains stretch across continents, one decision can trigger a cascade of effects, affecting businesses of all sizes and ultimately consumers. The economic challenges are amplified by political tensions. The Trump administration has framed these tariffs as essential for national security and strengthening American manufacturing. However, this hardline approach has sparked criticism from both domestic and international stakeholders. Canada and Mexico, key trade partners, see the tariffs as a threat to stable trade relations. Europe, meanwhile, has hinted at potential retaliatory measures if negotiations fail. The situation has created a delicate balancing act, trying to protect domestic industry without alienating important allies or destabilizing global markets. Experts are sounding the alarm. A Federal Reserve study of earlier steel tariffs revealed that instead of boosting jobs, these policies raised costs and actually reduced employment in the manufacturing sector. Now, with tariffs doubling, the risk of more job losses and industry disruption is significant. Companies like Coca-Cola, which rely on a vast supply chain and imported materials, are caught in the middle, forced to adapt quickly or face financial setbacks. Adaptation is the name of the game. Coca-Cola's response, reshaping packaging strategies and sourcing alternatives, is an example of the creativity and flexibility required to survive in such uncertain times. But the story doesn't end with multinational corporations. Small businesses and everyday consumers also need to adjust. Price fluctuations, supply shortages, and shifts in packaging materials are likely to affect grocery bills, restaurant menus, and even local craft beer options. This situation raises important questions for everyone. Will tariffs actually strengthen American industry? Or will the burden fall more heavily on businesses and consumers? How will small players, like craft breweries, survive compared to industry giants with more resources? And is moving toward alternative packaging, such as plastic, truly a viable solution? Or will it create its own environmental and financial headaches? Your input is crucial. Sharing your experiences and perspectives helps paint a fuller picture of how trade policies affect real people, from business owners to shoppers. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you see tariffs as a shield for American industry, or a strain on daily life? Subscribe to stay updated on future videos and insights. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep your curiosity in motion. There's plenty more to explore. So dive into the next video and keep learning about the forces shaping the products you see every day.